to learn about standard deviation. Standard deviation is the most useful method used by statisticians to measure the spread of data. It can be found manually using this lovely formula that you see at the top of your page. Now this symbol here is our symbol for standard deviation. It's like a slightly bent over 6. Then inside the square root sign there, you'll see some scores. You'll see x1, x2, x3. They represent all the scores in your data set. And each one of those you want to subtract the mean and square it. And you do that for each term, each number, all the way through to the very, very end. And that's why you have this plus dot 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 in here, meaning you just have to keep going for every single score. You then divide that by n, which is the number of scores, and of course take the square root of the whole thing. Now it can be quite a lengthy process, so we also want to use our calculators to help us do this, because we are going to do one question without a calculator, and you'll see that it's quite a tedious process to do it with that formula. The calculator is a much more useful method. The standard deviation tells us how far we are away from the mean or the average score. A small standard deviation means that the scores are close together. A large standard deviation means that the scores are more spread out. There are two types of standard deviation. On the calculator, they are listed as x sigma n and x sigma n minus 1. Okay, what the minus 1 is for the sample space. We're not going to use that one. We are going to use the x sigma n. Okay, so the symbol sigma, that little bent over 6 that I was telling you about, is a lowercase Greek letter. We also use the uppercase sigma in mathematics. It looks like this, and it means to sum. All right, so the next part of this lesson, we're going to go through in detail how to use your calculator, your Casio calculator, I should say, to find the standard deviation. So step number 1, when you're going to work on a statistics, start with the calculator turned off. Then you know all the statistics memories are empty. The data is cleared automatically when the calculator is turned off or the statistics menu is exited. All right, so step 2, we turn our calculator on, obviously, and enter your calculator into statistics mode by doing the following. We're going to click mode 2 and then the number 1. And this is what you'll see. You click the mode button, and then you'll see that the number 2 says stat for statistics. We're going to click the 2 for statistics, and then we click the 1 for the 1 variable, and it brings up that little table in your calculator. Now, step 3, you are now in the correct statistics mode for the work that we are covering. You have a choice of 2 possible screens being displayed, whether the frequency has been turned on or turned off. So the one that came up for us was this one, and that's the one that will always default to turn on. But there is going to be some questions where we're going to want a frequency column. So that is this option here. Okay, so to turn that frequency on or off, this is what we need to do. So we pressed the shift and then the mode button. So shift mode brings up that menu, so you can see the menus on the paper here as well. Then you need to click the little down arrow, so see this little down arrow, so that we can go down further, and you can see that the one there that says statistics, so this is number 3. You're going to press number 3 to bring up statistics mode, and then if we want to turn the frequency on, we press number 1, and there it is. We have our table with the frequency column. So let's just highlight the important parts there. We've done the down arrow, then we press 3, and then if you want the frequency on, it means that we need to press 1. If you, for some reason, wanted to turn it off again, you would, of course, press 2. Okay, so here is an example that we're going to work through together to find the standard deviation. So we're going to use this set of scores here. And it says step 1, start with the calculator turned off. Okay, so turn the calculator off. Turn the calculator on and then set the calculator to statistics mode. So we're going to go mode and 2 for statistics mode. Then we press 1 for our variable statistics. Actually, let me start that again so that I don't have that extra column there. So let's go mode 2 to turn on statistics, 1 for variable, and there's the normal 1 column that we're used to seeing. To enter the data, so this is step number 2, to enter the data, enter each number followed by an equal sign. So our scores are there at the top of the page. We need to press a 4 and then you press your equals button. 6 equals button. 2 equals button, 8 equals button, 3 equals button, 9, 12, 6, 4, 5. Okay, make sure you press equals after all of them. Okay, if you make a mistake, don't worry. Simply scroll to where the wrong score is and type the correct value over it. If you've left a value out, just put it at the end. If you put an additional score in that you don't require, highlight the score and press the delete button. And the incorrect score will be removed. And the following scores moved up 1 position. Okay, once we have all our scores correctly into our calculator, we want to press the AC button. And it seems like you might want to have a bit of a panic there. If I press the AC button, all my scores are going to disappear. And they do. Look, oh, AC, they're gone. But don't worry, they are still stored in your calculator's memory. The next thing you need to do is step number 4. The summary statistics are scored as the second function above the number 1 on the calculator. It is the stat and is written in the gold writing, which is behind your 1. So to get your results out, you need to press Shift, then 1 to access the summary statistics screen, and you'll see that menu that will appear there. So I press Shift and see the gold writing at the back there. 1 brings up the menu, and I am going to want to press number 4 to get the variables. There is a bunch of things there listed as a summary of all the different types of things that you can find. So 1, if I press 1, it takes me back to the first screen where I can see my notes again. Number 2 takes me to the data. If I want to check my scores, 3 sums up the scores for me. 4, as I said, is the one that we actually want because it gives the number of scores, the mean and the standard deviation, and the sample standard deviation. We only want 2 of those. We only want the mean and the standard deviation. And number 5 gives us our minimum and our maximum. So we're going to find the mean, and we're then going to find the standard deviation. So to find the mean, we press 4 for variable, and the mean, as you know, is the little x with a bar above it. So that's number 2. So we're going to press 2 for mean, and you need to press equals, and there it is, 5.9. Okay, look, and it says there on the page, that's the answer we should get, so 5.9. Then if we want the standard deviation, we don't have to type all the numbers in again. We press Shift 1 again to bring the menu back up, 4 for variable, and the standard deviation is number 3. Okay, so press 3 equals, and there it is at 2.8792, and so on. Just like what it says there on the page that we should get. Okay, that is it. That is how you do standard deviation on your calculator. So here are some questions we're going to practice again together. Use the formula to find the standard deviation of those scores. Okay, so I did say we're going to do one question where we use the formula. So the first thing we need to do before we sub into that formula is we need to know the mean, because that's something I need to sub in. So we know how to calculate a mean. The mean is adding up all the scores, so 7 plus 5 plus 6 and so on, add them all up and we get 53. and dividing by the number of scores, and if you count them all up, there are 10 scores there. So the mean is 5.3. Okay, so here we go for our formula, and write small in here because it's going to take up a bit of room. So our standard deviation, we need a big square root sign, and we want to do x1 minus the mean squared. Now that x1, remember, is just the first score, so that's going to be 7 minus 5.3 close bracket squared. Then I do the next score, 5 minus 5.3 close bracket squared. Then 6 minus 5.3 close bracket squared, and we keep going. 3 minus 5.3 close bracket squared. Next one, 4 minus 5.3 close bracket squared. 8 minus 5.3 close bracket squared. 2 minus 5.3 close bracket squared. 3 minus 5.3 close bracket squared. 7 minus 5.3 close bracket squared. And even writing small, I'm still running out of room. One more, 8 minus 5.3 close bracket squared. So you can see that that's quite a long formula that I've had to use there, and that's only for 10 scores. That's why we don't like to use this formula very much, because if I had 20 scores, 30 scores, 40 scores, it would take a very, very long time. So all of that needs to be divided by the number of scores, which was 10, and then you get the joy of typing that into your calculator. Maybe you want to pause the video, give it a go. When you do it, the answer does come out as 2.1. Okay, going on to question 2. For this question, we are going to use our calculator. Woohoo! Because that's much, much faster, much easier, as long as you know where to find all the buttons on your calculator. So here, they're actually the same scores, by the way, as question 1. I'm going to reset my calculator just to make sure everything is clear. Now to reset everything, you press Shift 9, because you can see the CLR for clear. And you can clear your whole calculator by pressing 3. And you just press equals a couple of times until everything clears away. Okay, so then we can start the process from scratch. To put it into statistics mode, I press mode and then 2 and 1 variable. Now I enter in all of my scores. So 7 equals 5 equals 6 equals 3 equals 4 equals 8 equals 2 equals 3 equals 7, and finally 8. Make sure you press equals after that last number. Once all the scores are in there, it's very important that you remember to press AC and have a little panic that all of your data is going to disappear. Then to get your results out, you press Shift 1 and we press 4 for variable, and we want 3 for the standard deviation. Press equals, and there it is. Standard deviation is equal to 2.1 with no working out, just lots and lots of buttons that I had to press on my calculator. Okay, which was the same result as I got up here. Okay, let's try the second question. This one has a frequency, so we're going to have to turn our frequency column on. So I'm going to start from scratch again. I'm going to clear everything. Shift 9, press 3, and equals to clear everything. Okay, so starting from scratch, I go mode 2, 1 for variable. Now that's in stats mode, but remember to turn the frequency on. You press Shift mode, down arrow, then you press 3 for statistics and 1 to turn the frequency on, and there's my extra column. Now I enter the scores. So I go 1 equals 2 equals 3 equals 4 equals 5 equals. Okay, it automatically puts 1s in for the frequency, so you need to use your arrow buttons to go back up to the top, and now we need to put in the right frequencies. So 2 equals 13 equals 14 equals 20 equals and 1 for the last one. Okay, now to get our results. Everything is in the table, so we press AC, clear it all away. Then we press Shift 4. Oops, try that again. Shift 4 to bring up the menu. Looks like my table's gone. Let me just try that again. Oh, it's cleared it all out again. Let me just type that in again quickly. I must have accidentally pushed something. Can happen easily. So that's 2, 13, 14, 20, and 1. Okay, press AC, press Shift 1 to bring up the menu, and we press 4 for variable and 3 for standard deviation. Press equals, and this is the answer. So we're just going to do 2 decimal places. That's 0.94. Standard deviation equals 0.94. Correct your 2 decimal places. Okay, so remember that you can also get mean out of there if you want to. So we can go Shift 1, press 4, and press 2 if we wanted the mean. So that would be 3.1 for that question. Okay, on the next page, question 3. The petrol price in cents per litre is recorded each week at 2 petrol stations in one suburb. We have the Mobile and the Ampol. At which petrol station is the price of petrol more consistent? So hint, remember that smaller deviation means more consistent. So we need to find the standard deviation of each set of data. There's 2 sets of data. It's not a score and a frequency here. I need the standard deviation of the Mobile, and then I'll need to do it again for Ampol. So I'm going to do the Mobile first. Okay, it's just single sets of single scores. So let's clear everything. To start, we go mode 2, 1 for variable, and there's my table. So 93.9. Press equals. 97.9 equals. 92.4 equals. 93.9 equals. 98.5 equals. 92.3 equals. 97.9 equals. And 99.9. Okay, once they're all in there, we press the AC. We go Shift 1 to bring up the menu, 4 for variable, 3 because we want the standard deviation. And so that is 2.827. That was 3 decimal places that I've done this time. Okay, now you want to do the same thing for Ampol. Maybe you want to try that one yourself. I think you've seen me do it plenty of times on the calculator there. So you can go through those steps and see if you can get that answer. You should come out with an answer of 1.783. Okay, so have a try and see if you can get that answer. Now remember, the whole question was asking us which petrol station has the most consistent price, and most consistent means the smallest standard deviation, which of course is the Ampol. So we write a little conclusion. Therefore, the price at Ampol is more consistent. Okay, so I have a little summary handout for those of you at school, just to go through those steps on your calculator, and then you need to work on exercise 4E.